today we're going to have Mark Waters present, and he's going to continue our conversation on communication. And it includes both our relationship with one another, our families, and God.
My name is Mark Waters. My wife and I will be doing this presentation. She'll be sitting in the audience with you. She's just, her role is just yeah, John, a few months ago asked me to do this, talk about communication, and then without saying anything, well, asked my wife and I to do it, but asked through me, and then without asking her, I just wanted to agree to it. And then, turns out she didn't want to come on stage with me. It's all right. And then, I had kind of a plan, a way of starting this, and then this morning I thought differently. Now the link isn't here, but anybody ever see it's a film, it's got Morgan Spurlock, Super Size Me, where he goes on a 30-day McDonald's binge? Okay. So what I was going to show you, but I guess the link's not working, is this part where he goes to like a grade school, and he's got about, they look like about 10-year-old kids. And he shows them these images, right? And you don't see him where the camera's at. Like we're seeing his back. You see the kids' faces, right? And he shows a picture of George Washington, right? Even most of the kids kind of get George Washington and whatnot. And then he shows this one, and every kid's like, I don't know, right? And one kid finally guesses, and he goes, is it George W. Bush? No, this movie's 2004, I want to say. He goes, no, that's a good guess, and he turns it around, and it's an image of Jesus. And it's not any old image of Jesus, it's Divine Mercy Jesus. So it's a very highly disseminated, it's a very popular kind of image, and none of the kids know it. Now when he puts up a picture of Ronald McDonald, every kid recognizes immediately, instantly. And not only do they recognize that image of Ronald McDonald, their eyes kind of widen. One kid even kind of straightens up in his chair. He gets excited and he starts listening to them. He says, I love their breakfast because I love their sausages and their pancakes. He responds emotionally, viscerally to this, right? And the frightening thing is that the whole movie, I think, does a nice job of substantiating this claim. That food's toxic. It's not even good for you, really. I mean, he goes on a 30-day McDonald's binge. By the end, his one doctor said, told him, I think after taking all his blood work, he says, if you keep on this, I think you're going to die. You're going to hit liver failure. He said, I never knew that was possible. Okay. That food's toxic, right? And we know that, but that response, it's like this year, or I looked up at USA Today, said that last year, anybody know that? Like how much 30-second ad cost in the Super Bowl last year, the average price for, pardon me? It was $5 million. It was $5 million, according to USA Today, $5 million average cost. Some companies took out multiple ads. So they're paying in the tens of millions of dollars. And of course they're doing that because it works. It works. They're not stupid, right? Somebody is speaking to our kids and to us, right? And, I just had this, I teach over at MCC, teaching. So I teach economics, I teach literature. I had to create a writing class this year that was a real challenge for me. Because in that class they can write about practically anything, and so you kind of see where they're at. And a lot of them are in really weird places. And particularly one of the challenges was everybody had a gripe with this church, not our parish, right? But with the Catholic Church. Everybody had some issue with it. Now you imagine me, right, who up until a few months ago would go to daily mass, sneak off. I say the rosary every day. I pray in my car to and from work, the Divine Mercy Chaplet. I love God, right? God is my strength. And I got to listen to this. And it just struck me at one point. I'm like, it's like the whole world tells us that we need something. We're not complete. I can't feel good about myself unless I have the right car. I can't feel good about myself and my family unless I've got a home that's way too big for my needs, right? That I really can't afford. We got close personal friends who are about to buy a house that they can't afford, you know. And one of the spouses knows this. Talk about a problem with communication, right? The whole world's telling you that, right? It's telling you these work values, okay? God is telling you this. You are made in His image and likeness, right? And He came here and He's like, and I'm going to show you this quite personally. I'm going to send my Son, and He's going to show you how to do everything, right? I'm going to try to find, look back here. Okay. Now, John, when he asked me to do this, don't anybody look. When John asked me to do this, for the Super Bowl, I'll rest on this for a second. He sent me like a few weeks, maybe in early December. Where is John? But anyway, he sent me this little outline, and finally in December, and I'd been working on this a little bit, taking notes, and then the passage from Ephesians, okay? Paul's letter to the Ephesians. Everyone's favorite line is in there. My wife actually goes, oh, sorry, I can't get used to this one. Yeah, Chrissy actually, when she kind of like falls off to sleep, is usually muttering this one. You know, somehow. And I'm looking at this passage, and I'm like, are you kidding me? This is the passage we're supposed to go off of? I'm like, Father Paul won't even make a joke about this passage, you know. But I kind of doing what I do. I like the passages that are difficult, the ones that seem to kind of butt heads with conventional wisdom, right, with the culture. And my background is, you know, in literature, and analyzing lit and language and whatnot. So, you know, I just started digging into this, right? And at first I found, like, well, the thesis is right off the bat. It says, first, is this topic sentence, right? Be subordinate to one another, right? And here's this out of reverence for Christ. Okay, what can we go through this? I noticed that his idea he's talking about husbands and wives in this passage, obviously, in a relationship, right? And I notice what's not there, right? He never talks about this relationship in terms of power and in terms of control. Okay? And by the way, Paul never talks about any relationship in these terms, and neither does Jesus. Right? Okay. Instead, he uses these terms. He keeps using this: subordination and love. Right? Love, putting someone ahead of yourself. Right? Raising another above your own concerns, right? Selflessness, you know, empathy, right? Empathy is that concern, putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, right? And you know, here's language from it too, from that same passage. Christ loved the church and handed Himself over for her on the cross. I mean, Christ's example, right? He's God. He's incarnate God. And what does He do? He allows Himself to be killed, right? He gives everything for us, right? That's His, like, there's that one passage in the Gospel where, I think it's James and John, their mom comes, talk about mortifying your adult sons, right? Mom comes up to Jesus and goes, you know, hey, when you go into your kingdom, I'd like my two sons to sit at your right and left hand. Right? That one. And he's like, oh, you know, you got this all wrong. So that's what the world does. The world wants, like, glory, and it wants its status, and it wants its power, and it wants its position and control. And, you know, it's like, but if you're going to follow me, right? And if you want peace, right? If you want peace in your life, it's like, forget that. Forget status, right? Forget self-esteem, you know, the worldly kind of self-esteem, right? Forget money and wealth. It's like, you've got to be the last. You've got to come to serve. If you want glory in my kingdom, you come to serve. And say, that's how you're going to get this. Right? And then you see, so Paul, it's funny, because half the priests in the world, they get really uptight. They go, oh my gosh, I'm going to read, this is the reading for this weekend. I'm going to sermonize about this. I've never been married. I'm celibate, blah, 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 blah. Right? But Paul doesn't have an issue with this. Paul, at the end, where's this line he comes to? He's kind of like, he has it like, sorry, get this back. In any case, blah, 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 blah. He's like, Paul's like, yeah, this is just like everything else I'm saying. He just seems, after about 10 times reading this, it just struck me like, gosh, he just seems almost cavalier about all of this. Like, yeah, it's like with every other thing I'm talking about. It's like the example is Jesus' example, right? It's no different in the family, If we want healthy communication, if we want a healthy family, we have to be like Jesus, who came here as the ultimate power. And right, we just got done with that. He came as a baby, right? Powerless and swaddled, right? That image is in there. Swaddled. He's bound. No power. Can't even move, right? So radical. Okay, so I want to, I started about the kids. The final passage in this is Paul's talking about doing things in the Lord with the kids. Talks about obedience, but all these things have to be in God, through God. So because I want to talk here about meaningful communication with each other and God is love, right? It's loving communication. Right? Communication, I want to talk about as a form of love. Okay, it's Christ-like, right? It's selfless. And these are kind of the 3 points I want to get, right? Listening, forgiving, and joy. Okay. So, okay. Communication, listen. You might remember this when you were a kid. All of us either have young kids or probably remember kids were young. And you know that effect when somebody comes home from school or you come home from work or something, right? And dad, mom, I want to show you this. I did this at school, right? My 13-year-old just got an Xbox for his birthday. And it's like, I can't, it's in the basement, We have a computer down there, we have a laundry room down there, and some storage. So there's a lot of times where we just, on a short errand or going into the basement, oh, Dad, you gotta see it. Dad, check this out. Oh, check out my guy that I just made on his NBA game. Make a guy, his guy has little shaggy sideburns. Kind of get a kick out of it. And it's, like, you stop and you acknowledge something, right? Listening is a way, when we listen selflessly, right? When we kind of suppress what we want to say and our opinions and our instincts, right? Even in good situations like that, where the kids want to show you something good, even in negative ones, I have some we all have challenges, I'm sure, in our homes. We're no different. Where the kids are like, somebody's going off the deep end, and I'm not, Christy especially is not a naturally calm person. But I'm not a naturally calm person. I can get angry real quick. That's one of my things. Just ask Father Paul. I confess that practically every week. But the best version of me is the listening one. I'm sorry, I'm up here running my lips. I don't even teach this way. I don't talk like I do when I teach. But the best version of me is the listening one. And it just strikes me when we allow other people, when we suppress what we want to say and impose, that we're acknowledging the value of somebody else. And it doesn't have to be love. And so I want each one of these. I just have this little challenge, this little practical challenge. There's something to do to apply this. Okay. So the first one, listen intently not apathetically, something you've been ignoring with each person in your house. I'm going to bring up that creative writing class. Okay. And I've been doing that for years over there at MCC. And the thing about writing, like these are kids, they'll be writing. And by the way, I say kids, but the students at MCC are all ages. Right? I had a guy who was 75 years old one time in the class. Okay. Marshall Appleneck. And I said, Marshall, what are you doing here? You know, what's your plan? He goes, and he's totally serious. He goes, I'm looking to change careers. All right. They're writing short stories. I've had a couple people who've written novels. They're writing poetry. Some are writing plays. And all of these things they identify with. They're not just an assignment they're turning in that they could care less about. But these are things that they've written themselves with nobody telling them to do this, right? Now they're going to bring it in, they're going to workshop it. And it really matters to them. And I find that this when we talk about what we've been ignoring or each person, this might be a challenge because oftentimes those real sensitive things that we identify with that are so important to us, right, are the things we don't share, even with our spouse, right? Because it's like, I bet most people have something like this. It's like, and it's not that you're ashamed of it or anything, but it's just like, are people going to value this? One thing I do, most Fridays for the past 7 years, I've gone out to abortion clinics to either pray and then I sidewalk counsel out of the Planned Parenthood. I don't tell people that. Because I didn't like the answers I was getting. Everybody's got an opinion. Like people will start getting angry, either at me or at people going for abortions, and it's like, well, not that their opinions are wrong, but it was just like, I say it, and the same thing I say to people who give me the finger, who might stop and talk for 5 seconds. Like, why don't you just come out here? Spend a couple Fridays here. Spend a couple days here. See what goes on. It's like, here, you do this. I teach a class with vets. This is a poem. Victoria Hudson was a lieutenant colonel. She was, I think she's still in the service. This was a poem she wrote called Bosnia in 1986. This is a picture from Bosnia during that war, right in the mid-90s. And how in mere words, the poem starts like this: how in mere words do I fill a void created with harmless, honest, polite, true inquiry? What was it like? She's like, am I supposed to tell somebody who's never been in a war what that's like? What am I supposed to tell them? So she doesn't. But she doesn't, right? So the challenge here is to find, this might take a while. With somebody, it might be easy to listen, right? I just haven't been a good listener. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna take the time. I'm gonna suppress what I want to say, and I'm gonna listen to something. But what is it that really needs to be listened to, right? What is it that people matters most to them? I have a dear friend, old friend from school, and every year for Christmas, he goes out and he never shops in a mall or online or anything like that, and he finds everybody in his family some gift that is particular to their personality, right? That he knows, they love his gifts. They love his gifts, right? It's terrible. And so, anyway. So this is a little challenge, right? You cannot ask. That's the thing. You cannot ask somebody that. What's the thing that matters to you that matters? Don't ask them. Figure it out. That's what I suggest. Okay. There we go. Okay. The second point is kind of forgiveness, and the flip side of that is apology. Okay. Asking for forgiveness. This is at the center of Christian life. Jesus was hanging on the cross so that we could be forgiven. right? This has to be something that we can all do. Is offer forgiveness, allow forgiveness, right? And God, the funny thing about God, most of the saints talk about this, our popes talk about this. It's like, God isn't demanding things of us because he wants it. He's demanding it for us because he wants it for us. And what baggage it is to hold on to a grudge. What weight that is. Remember Jesus says, like, the road to hell is wide, right? The road to perdition is wide. But his is, right, the road to salvation is narrow, right? It's because, like, you can't bring all that baggage on the road to heaven. It's got to be gone, you know? And so, here's one thing that I used to do. I don't do this ever anymore now. Is I would archive these things. I didn't even know I was doing this, but I'd archive these things. So I was always like, yeah, okay, it's fine. It's easy to forgive, but I'd archive. You know, I wouldn't forget about them, right? Monsignor Hermes over during confession one time, actually it was after Mass one time. I was talking about confession I had with him. And he had said, yeah, he asked me, he's like, do you, maybe this wasn't confession. I was talking about people I was struggling with at work, personalities I was struggling with at work, and I could not say a nice word about them. If they were brought up, I'd just be so, you know. Anyway, I said, I want to let this go. He said, do you ever sit there and go through your head? You find yourself at times when you're not at work, where this is going through your head, things that they've done. I said, yes. He says, the second you start doing that, stop. Stop doing that, think of something else. We can't do that in our homes. That's pollution. That's a pollution in our homes. You know, we have to let this go. And sometimes, and I've heard this from other people, maybe I've said this, it's quite possible. But this phrase is something like, that's just who I am. Right? That's the classic, I don't want to apologize. That's just who I am. Okay? You know, it strikes me that if we can't apologize, if we say that, then we're committing another offense. We're committing another kind of violence because we're saying not something loving. We're saying, I matter more than you. And I matter. My pride matters more than the hurt that I caused you. Now, the flip side of this is offer forgiveness humbly. When somebody apologizes, I mean, the one thing that could stop me from apologizing if I know I'm going to get a lecture. If I'm going to get a lecture right now, because that's not like, I'm not opening the door so you can sit there and wag your finger at me. Who wants that? God doesn't do that. You go to confession, right? I haven't been to too many confessions where the priest sits there and lays into me. He could have, right? But he doesn't. God is here to offer forgiveness. We can't reject God's image and likeness in us by not offering forgiveness ourselves. And then here's one challenge to dads particularly. You got to masculinize this. I did not learn how to apologize from my dad. And because my dad can't apologize, there's a lot of problems right now in my extended family. Like serious stuff. And in my immediate family. And I said this to him recently. It was a very difficult conversation I had to have with him. I mean, there's this flip, right? There's a strange thing. My 81-year-old dad, and I'm coming in acting like his father. Right? Because the family is because there's a lot of damage being done in the family. But I don't have any conscious memory of him making a serious apology for anything. Ever. Okay? That's no way to go through life. We had a VP who just left. Was my age, over MCC. And he practically snuck out to leave. And the people that he schmoozed while he was there, they had left before him. Nobody wanted him. And the problem was not that he screwed up, which he did many times, but he could not apologize. Here's what's twisted. The masculine, the thing that's twisted in the male mind, in the male ethic, is that somehow apologizing is weakness. I'll tell you what, man. Nobody thought that guy was strong for not apologizing. He was a coward. He was a coward. Right? It takes guts to apologize. It does. And it takes, honesty. Okay? That's the challenge, I think, for, we have to do that as dads. Fortunately, I learned it from my mom, but my mom couldn't masculinize it. Right? Only, men can do that. Right? Men can do that. So, the challenge, though, here that I'm putting out is practice gracious forgiveness and humble apology. Right? I mean, God's gracious when He gives forgiveness. Right? Jesus is certainly as humble as can be on the cross. This make it an act of love. I'm apologizing for the sake of other people, for the sake of the peace in my family, for the sake of repairing wrongs. Right? And by the way, I would suggest thinking about this ahead of time, not improvising. If you're not a big apologizer or something, you might have to plan this out a little bit. You might have to, just think, well, what would an apology sound like or look like? Okay. And by the way, I know I've said a lot to the men and to the dads, but I'm not under any illusions that all the women here have their apologies down straight. And this is a struggle. It's difficult. It's never easy. I don't know how many times in my life I apologize, but it's like, I kind of like wince every time I got to do it. Still, Build joy. Build joy. So a few years ago, it'll be 3 years in May, Christy and I brought home our youngest son, Eric, from Haiti. And, some of you here know a little bit about bringing children into your home that aren't your own kids, but that were institutionalized, or like he was in an orphanage, And, as far as orphanages go, it was like the Hilton of orphanages. Hey, it was like, it was a great place. They did what they could. They seemed to love the kids. They had a lot of support. Okay, but, these kids, changing homes and not being held when you're an infant, the way you hold your kids, that affects your brain development. A lot of issues. And it's difficult because my method, well, he says, like, oh, you have such a beautiful family. You have such a beautiful family. Well, our three biological children, all the things we did to help them along, practically none of them worked. With number 4, this was like, and I was in this constant state of reprimand. You walk into the house and I'm like, what's he going to do? What am I going to have to shout him down about? Right? What am I going to have to threaten him with a spank? I never hit the other kids. This kid's been hit. So we came across this woman. What's her name? Karen Purvis. Okay. She's passed away recently, but she started this. Department out at Texas Christian University, and they work with institutionalized kids who are now transitioning into a home. Okay, and she really just gave. You know what I love about it? It was just like, here's some tactics you can use immediately, right? And one of them is so common sense. Oh my gosh, it's just so simple. It's just like, every time you correct them, right, say about 7 or 8 positive things, right? Every correction, right, say something positive to them. And here was the thing. It was like, not only was that like, did he just start responding immediately that. We could see, it wasn't like an elixir that cured all problems, but it like immediately changed things with me. But man, it changed things with me. And it's funny. It's like you started looking at everybody around, like, what are all the good things all these kids are doing in my life? Right? What are all the things we should be joyful about? Right? All the blessings we have. One funny story, I was sitting in the car one time with Eric, just he and I. He likes to, another thing, by the way, she says, it's like, say yes as much as possible, which was not our style. And you have 4 kids, you're like, okay, everybody can't do everything they want to do, kind of, like, so he's always with me. Dad, can I go with you? And I'm thinking, yeah, let's go. And so we're sitting in the car, and I'm like, so I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking, Eric, you've been really good lately. And I said, you're a good boy. I said, you're smart. Your ABCs. You know all the sounds they make. You know some words. Your numbers. I said, you're funny. I said, you're a good athlete. You're really good at baseball. You can dribble and basketball and shoot. And I'm going on. And he goes, you think I'm funny? He's listening, we're all listening, and everything was sincere, okay, hold on, the challenge, okay, there we go, sorry. So that's the challenge, build some joy. Remember, when you're acknowledging somebody, again, it's this acknowledgement that kind of carries through all of these, right? Right? Listening is an acknowledgement. Somebody else's voice matters, right? And it's an act of love. Forgiving is an acknowledgement that somebody else's being matters, right? That something you did to somebody else matters to them and it hurt them, right? Simple ways we love. Build joy, right? Pointing out something good somebody else is doing is, acknowledging them again and their contributions and their goodness. And man, does this lift all of these things? And this is the thing the adoption taught me, was that, like, when you ask, when you involve God in your life, it's all the loaves and the fishes. Everything is that loaves and fish story, the feeding of the 5,000. The boy comes, he's like, well, I got my lunch. 5,000 people around. He's like, yeah. I've got some fish and I've got a little bit of bread. And Jesus like, very thankful. And he turns that into food. Not only food for 5,000, but there's leftover. I was worried about money. I was worried about my family in our community taking in a black child. Right? Like that was nothing. Right? Money, I haven't worried about money since then. We were going to stop tithing here. We tithe with Christy and I, where we just agreed, like, it's got to be, our adoption has to be our tithe. And it's like, every week after week, I'm like, okay, we're all right. And I just kept writing checks for the same amount, and, blah, blah. And I remember when we finally brought him home, and I was doing the tax. There's a kind of a slight tax credit you can get for this. So I'm like, kind of like sitting down in the basement. I'm looking at our ledger. I'm trying to add up all the costs for this, and which came to, by the way, about $30,000. And she comes down. I'm shaking my head, and she goes, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Nothing." She said, "I don't know where all this money came from. Because we didn't have it. We just trusted God." I said, like, well, listen, we'll do this, but you got to make it happen. Build joy. Like, it'll be your joy, too. It's not just for other people. It'll be your joy. That's how God is. It's like, I've got enough to go everywhere. I get excited when I talk about that. Okay, I guess the last little bits, I want to, this extending these 3 things, like we can do this in our prayer life. Listen, if you want to be a good employee, heck, if you want to be president of your company that you work for, They have the rules for that. They can read you through that. That's all you want to be. You know, some people in there could probably name 5, 10 CEOs of companies, right? Could you name 10 CEOs 20 years ago? Who cares? My father-in-law gave me this great insight. He said, you know, everyone's dying for their company to do this work or that work. He said, but when you leave, they will replace you in 2 seconds. Right? God made you fearfully and wonderfully. He made you his image. He doesn't forget anybody. All those babies, they'll kill about 100 babies at that Planned Parenthood every week. So God knows every single one of those babies. And He cares about every single one. And their moms and their dads and their family and their salvation too. But your company, not so much. So when we pray, like if you want to do great things in life, if you want to have a great family, if you want to mean something to other people, really, it's like you got to have a prayer life. You got to have a prayer life. You know, and start small. I remember. I know he's kind of fallen out of favor, but old Father Karafi. Anybody remember him? I remember listening to him one time talk about how he went from like basically this life of drugs and excess to becoming a priest. He said, I just started praying a Hail Mary every day. Well, I thought, well, that's good advice. I'm going to do that. And that's what I did. You know, I pray a lot more now because I see the results. Because, you know, I'll get it. But praying joy. Right? And joy mostly falls into this Thanksgiving, right? What are you thankful for? Thank God. Like, these are great things, God. You know, and even your adversity at times. Because adversity often makes us grow. So how is that something to even be joyful for? Okay? This one we might be, I think, this might be right in our wheelhouse already, right? Praying for forgiveness, you know, you know, God, I'm sorry for this, I'm sorry for that, right? But my challenge here is like, elevate this sacramentally. You know, the church tells us we have to go at least once a year to confession. Well, man, that's like a daunting task. When you save up for a year to go in there, you know. I don't think it's a great way of doing it. And if you want your kid, you know, there's so much peace in confession, right? Listen here, in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, you know, confession, which is called penance, which is also called reconciliation, right? Same sacrament, is one of 2 healing sacraments. It's a healing sacrament, right? It's not just a get out of jail free card. You know, it's not just the laundromat that Pope Francis is talking, right? But it's about starting a relationship with God. You know, and God, by the way, is the one who's all. When that priest says it, those are Jesus' words. Jesus is talking to you. There's an intimacy there. Listen for God's response. Father Larry Richards, I heard this recently, he was talking to a group, and he said, does God exist? Threw that question out there. People said, how do you know? And people gave, you know, decent theological answers, right? Some people gave like an empirical answer or two, you know. But when he said, you know how I know God exists? He said, because I have a relationship with Him. I have a relationship with Him. I said to Father Tim one time in confession, I said, you know, God talks to me. I said, just so he wouldn't think I'm crazy. I said, not in English, but He speaks to me. He said, I know exactly what you mean. You know, other people with a prayer life, a real prayer life, they understand it. I talk to these people, and they tell me the most amazing stories about how God confirms His presence in their life. You know, but to start a prayer life, you know, listen, we pray before meals. I suggest that. Pray as a family, even in very simple situations, right? Everybody, I don't know if everybody knows this. You, as an individual and as a family, can offer the Mass. When you come to a Mass, you can offer that for an intention. So when we drive to, one of the things we do, when we drive to church, we say, okay, what should we offer the Mass for? And we say a little prayer. We say, okay, we're going to offer it for this person, right? Today we offered it for all of you, right? And for me. And for Christian, she's going to come up after me and give the conclusion. That this would matter to everybody, that I'd be up there saying something that, like, God agrees with. Last thing to say about this. Dwayne, you know things about Donna that the rest of us don't know. That's the nature of a relationship, right? You don't just get to know a person. You get to know privileged things about them that other people don't know. When you start a relationship with God, you communicate with Him. You'd be amazed at what you learn about God and yourself and existence. Paul is not talking. St. Paul is not a Hallmark card when he talks about love, being patient, being kind, and that love never fails. It's like, you take this selfless, sacrificial idea and action into everything, and you'll have peace. You'll have God's peace. Jesus says, I don't give peace like the world gives peace, right? I feel good because I got $500,000 in my bank account, and I don't worry about money. Well, most of the time, then you worry about the $500,000 you have, right? God doesn't give peace like that. His peace is foolproof. Peace and all people. Thanks.